It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, folks. Welcome to Tuesday's edition of A Flawed Man of God. My name is Stuart Davis. I'm a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor, I'm not a biblical scholar, and I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What we're here to do is talk about Jesus, talk about God, talk about Christianity, talk about how different things affect us as Christians, and talk about different discussions. So, if you are somebody who is interested in becoming a Christian, looking more into the religion and faith, and you want to learn more, let this channel be a way to get some impression out of it. I'm a non-denominational Protestant, been one for my whole life, 39 years. Um, I don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination. I'm just in the Word, in and out every day, and just trying to make sense of it all and be a better person. If you are somebody who enjoys Christian discussion, and you already are very well planted in your faith, also welcome. Be part of the chat. Be part of the chat whether you are a Christian or if you're just thinking and you're curious about becoming one. Give me your thoughts, give me your impressions, tell me how what we talk about affects you, has affected you in the past, and why you are where you're at, if you feel like sharing that. So with that said, welcome everybody. Glad to have you here. Already got folks in the chat warming it up. Nico first as usual. Dresden in here at second, and Nernath. I'm gonna get you. You're one of these days, Nerneth. Dresden, you can't be second and fourth. What you can be is here, and that's what you are, and I appreciate that, because that's the great thing about this chat. That's a great thing about this stream. It's made better by your presence and by what you share. So, hopefully everybody is doing pretty good today. I've been doing pretty good today. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, this is really, really uneventful. Kind of uneventful. Only have a whole lot of thing. Still some lag signs from Streamlabs. I don't know what the deal is with that, but like I said, we've been having some cable issues here. That may be part of the problem. Maybe part of the problem, or maybe it's just StreamYards. I don't know. I don't know how to fix it, folks. I don't know. I do need to fix down here though. That needs to get fixed. Anyways. Last night we talked about Gideon, and Gideon is a Gideon's been a trip so far. Gideon is a man who has been chosen by the Lord to be the next great judge of Israel. But Gideon's got a problem. Gideon has a problem. His problem is he can't stop saying weird stuff. And when I say weird stuff, I mean calling God into question. Not questioning God in how he exists or what his commandments are or anything in the past and in his upbringing, but questioning whether God, who is in front of him talking to him at that very moment, is actually God. So Gideon does some things that we all might find questionable behavior, and that works on a different level too, because he keeps questioning God. He keeps asking him, can you prove this? Can you prove that? And God has quite patiently, because God knows his plan obviously better than anybody else, because nobody else knows it. And and God knows Gideon better than Gideon knows himself. The best avenue here is to just do acquiesce and grant Gideon a response to what he's asking for. But I think God's going to get a little cute with this, and I think we're going to find that out tonight. So tonight, because like I said, I don't have a whole lot else that I'm to talk about other than uh, Judges 7 and 8. This might be a rather short stream. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But we will finish out Gideon's life here. The conclusion is actually very funny. But so is this next chapter. So we'll start with Gideon defeats the Midianites, Judges 7. Early in the morning, Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and all his men camped at the spring of Herod. Okay, if you remember, Gideon he sounded his trumpet. He called for the men of Manasseh and Zebulun and Naphtali. Hang on. Yeah, Naphtali, as well as Asher. So he's got a couple of tribes. He's got quite a posse with him. And all of his men camped at the spring of Herod. The camp of Midian was north of them in the valley near the hill of Borah. The Lord said to Gideon, "You have too many men. I cannot deliver Midian into their hands, or Israel would boast against me. My own strength has saved me." Now announce to the army, "Anyone who trembles with fear may turn back and leave Mount Gilead." So 22,000 men left, while 10,000 remained. So, a force of 30,000 plus with Gideon. And they're camping out and they're looking out at the Midianites and they're preparing for battle. And then all of a sudden, God comes and says, "That's too many. 30,000 plus is too many. We need to shrink that down." Because look, if you beat the Midianites with 30,000 men, you're just going to say, "Huh, I did this. I built this. I did it." And this is kind of y'all's problem. It's kind of y'all's problem. Y'all put y'all's own salvation on yourselves instead of on me, and you don't trust in me. And this is why we keep coming into these problems that you have. What's going on, T-Rex? Glad to have you here. So he goes, "Look, if you're scared, say you're scared and leave. It's okay." So Gideon comes up and says, "Hey guys, if you're too afraid if you're really afraid of the Midianites, you don't have to stay. You can go home." 2/3 go. Over 2/3 go. 10,000 are still there though. All right. So you got 10,000. But the Lord said to Gideon, "There are still too many men. Take them down to the water, and I will thin them out for you there. If I say, 'This one shall go with you,' he shall, or he shall go. But if I say, 'This one shall not go with you,' he shall not go." So I love this. He goes, 10,000, huh? Still too many. We're going to lower this number. So Gideon took the men down to the water. There the Lord said to him, "Separate those who lap the water with their tongues as a dog laps from those who kneel down to drink." 300 of them drank cupped hands like dogs. All the rest got down on their knees to drink. The Lord said to Gideon, "With the 300 men that lapped, I'll save you and give the Midianites into your hand. Let all the others go home." So Gideon said to sent the rest of the Israelites home, but kept the 300 who took over the provisions and trumpets of the others. Near Nath, I'm trying to put this. Why no white? Note if Susan. Oh, why no YouTube noticed Susan? Oh, that I don't know. Look, I'm just a Christian man. All I know is that Susan and Satan share a lot of letters in their names. I'm not saying that she is Satan, but maybe she's 60% Satan. Not today, Susan. T-Rex got the notification. That's not necessarily the case. I generally get notifications. The only for the folks I'm subscribed to, but I know that other people don't. So, Nernaeth, you're too based for YouTube, is what it is. So they try to keep you off this chat. So I don't know if this is a. All right, so getting back to this, God says 10,000, 2 men, send them to the river. All right, they're down to the river. Okay, ask them to drink from the water. See how they drink. Some bring it up to their head. Wait, what did they say? Drank from cupped hands, lapping like dogs. So just it's weird. This is weird. So that's probably why out of 10,000, only 300 got down and did that. And I know that God's probably sitting there saying, these guys are weird. That's enough. 300. I'm going to send you with 300. Historically, an important number. So says, I know you brought 32,000. We're going to go with 300. We're going to go with less than 1% of the men you brought against the Midians and the Amalekites, who have been literally terrorizing the entire nation of Israel. You asked for this, Gideon. You asked for this. You wanted signs? God gave you signs. Now you're going to get another sign. 300 men. Didn't say that. Look, and this is just based on how they drink, not based on how elite they are. It's just how autistically they get down to drink. Basically it. Now the camp of Midian lay below him in the valley. Hey, he's got the high ground. It's over. During that night, the Lord said to Gideon, get up, go down against the camp, because I'm going to give it into your hands. If you are afraid to attack, go down to the camp with your servant Purah, and listen to what they are saying. Afterwards, you will be encouraged to attack the camp. So he and Purah, his servant, went down to the outposts of the camp. The Midianites, the Amalekites, and all the other eastern peoples had settled in the valley. Thick as their camels their camels could no more be counted than the sand on the seashore. Just the camels. Gideon arrived just as a man was telling a friend his dream. I had a dream, he was saying. A round loaf of barley bread came tumbling into the Midianite camp. It struck the tent with such force that the tent overturned and collapsed. His friend responded, this can be nothing other than the sword of Gideon, son of Joash, the Israelite. God has given the Midianites and the whole camp into his hands. When Gideon heard the dream and its interpretation, he bowed down and worshipped. Based. He returned to the camp of Israel and called out, get up! The Lord has given the Midianite camp into your hands. Dividing the 300 men into 3 companies, he placed trumpets and empty jars in the hands of all of them, with torches inside. Watch me, he told them. Follow my lead. And when I get to the edge of the camp, do exactly as I do. When I and all who are with me blow our trumpets, then from all around the camp blow yours and shout, for the Lord and Gideon. Gideon. I don't know. Does it seem weird if you were sitting there like, hey guys, make sure when you shout, You shout for the Lord and shout for me. I don't know. Sounds like he's tooting his own horn. But look, Gideon, all right, so God says, look, you got 300 men, which is funny. I would love to have seen the look on Gideon's face. Is Gideon completely convinced now? I mean, we're not hearing a whole lot of stuff. Well, I take that back. I take that back. He told Gideon, if you are afraid to attack, go down to the camp and listen to what they're saying. And that's what he does. So Gideon's still afraid. Gideon just says, okay, 300, let's go. Let's go. Now, he goes out of the camp and he hears one of the guys in the camp talking about a dream. And the guy, his buddy with him, says, man, that sounds like Gideon, the son of Joash. We're going to lose. That's all Gideon needed to hear. Wait, stop right there. Gideon believed the interpretation of some random Midianite in a camp. But all the times that the Lord said to him at one point face to face, I'm going to deliver them in your hand, that he was still afraid of. All it took was that one Midianite. And now all of a sudden he's, get up. We're gonna go beat him now. And he comes up with this great idea that he's getting ready to this trap he's getting ready to spring on him. Nope. We talked about faith last night, and we had some pretty good discussion about it. Specific, and especially Internath and Blaine in the chat. God told him face to face, you're gonna win. And he was still scared. But he wasn't scared. He was fine. Once he heard the Midianite give him his story, man, are we that full of doubt as people? Gideon's just one of us. But he heard it. And here's the thing he does, though, too. When he hears that, he bows down and worships. Nico, damn selection reason sounds so random. Nothing to do with the color or anything. Yeah. Yeah, it does. It doesn't. But I think it was just God going, okay, I'm just going to keep cutting your numbers down until I'm convinced it's small enough. He already knows how it's going to end. So, Nath, I mean, we tend to listen to our enemies a lot and get discouraged. So maybe this is a rare time it helped to listen to people who hate us. Yeah. Maybe. We shouldn't listen to I take that back. We can identify people who are enemies who maybe aren't our enemies, or maybe not God's enemies. We shouldn't. This is just me spouting off because I have the same problem. We shouldn't give into the words of our enemies when they're enemies of God. We should be encouraged by the words of God, which is what we're reading tonight. I've heard that too, Nath. I'd totally forgotten about that. Heard the explanation to be too scared that I'd heard that the dog lappers are not looking for ambushes, but the people who kneeled were. And so that's why they got down on one knee, so you can get up and go. Whereas you get down and you're lapping it up like a dog, your head's down and everything. I've heard that before as well. However, that's the foolish way to do it. You should always be if you're a soldier and you're out there near another enemy encampment, you should be ready for ambushes, right? But I guess if that's prefaced with here's another thing. If this was all prefaced with that you're being sorted because God is deciding who is going to fight with him and who is not, who is so faithful that they're not looking for ambushes because they're faithful? Don't know. A lot of postulating right here, but it makes sense. Makes sense. But yeah, I've heard that before. That's a good one. Thanks for bringing that up. So, all right. So he gives everybody an empty jar and gives them torches and gives them a trumpet. So he goes, "Watch me," and then tells them, "Watch me." And oh yeah, when you give out your battle cry, make sure you mention for God and for me. I would never do that. out of pure embarrassment, I don't think I would do that. Yeah, don't believe that, T-Rex. It does that all the time, and it fluctuates, and I don't know. It's coming from. I don't know how it's doing it. I've heard before that the YouTube chat count is sometimes off. All right. But yeah, you T-Rex, you, Nico, and Nunaeth are in here, and now it shows that there are 3 in here. But I think that there's usually somebody else listening in too. So there's usually Dresden's usually lurking in there somewhere, um, and other folks. Nunaeth, maybe take what the enemy's saying into consideration, but not sure about bow down and worshipped on the spot. Yeah, I mean, it's good that he does that. He finally figured it out. um or it could be predestination. Drops bomb in chat and leaves. We're not talking about predestination. I'm not a Calvinist. I'm going to have a Calvinist on here soon. Eventually. I keep saying it, but I haven't invited him on for anything yet, which is my fault, not his. I've got a bunch of things I want to bring him on for to talk about because he's a great personality to have on here, and he's very well read. So, all right. Gideon and the 300 men with him reached the edge of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch, just after they had changed the guard. They blew their trumpets and broke the jars that were in their hands. 3 companies. All right. If this is at night, the beginning of the middle watch, my guess is it's right around 2, 3 o'clock. Getting close to what we call in the military a stand to, where you rally in the morning because you want to be alert when the attack happens. Biologically, it is the a human's most that's when they're at their most what's the word I'm working for? When the body's at its most vulnerable, you're the most tired, right? Or if you're asleep, that's the time where you're generally in your most sound sleep. 2 to 3 o'clock, right around there. Stand 2 is right at 4. Or yeah. So that sounds like that would be in it. Best time to cause a confusing attack to that time of the night. So just as after they had changed the guard, they blew their trumpets and broke the jars that were in their hands. So they just changed the guard. That means the guards are tired. The ones that are coming, you've got people who are sound asleep. You've got tired guards settling down for the night, and you've got guards that have just woken up, just taking over. It's perfect timing. They blew their trumpets and broke the jars that were in their hands. The 3 companies blew the trumpets and smashed the jars. Grasping the torches in their hands and holding in their right hands the trumpet they were going to blow, and they shouted, "Sword for the Lord and for Gideon." While each man held his position around the camp, all the Midianites ran, crying out as they fled. When the 300 trumpets sounded, the Lord caused the men throughout the camp to turn on each other with their swords. The army fled to Beth Shittah and Zerah as far as the border of Abel Meholah near Tabith. Israelites from Naphtali, Asher, and all Manasseh were called out, and they pursued the Midianites. Gideon sent messengers throughout the hill country of Ephraim, saying, "Come down against the Midianites and seize the waters of the Jordan ahead of them as far as Beth Berah." So all the men of Ephraim were called out, and they seized the waters of the Jordan as far as Beth Berah. They also captured 2 of the Midianite leaders, Oreb and Zeb. They killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb and Zeb at the winepress of Zeb. They pursued the Midianites and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon, who was by the Jordan. So that's really all it took. They get caught up in that. They get caught up. They get confused. Lots of noise, trumpets blaring, people shouting. They think they're under attack. 300 men carrying torches. They probably look like a bunch of guys. Probably looks a lot bigger than they think. They probably think each torch is being held by the company bannerman. Nope. So they get confused. They think they're under attack. They start attacking. So God adds a dash of confusion in there. And next thing you know, they're killing each other and running away. So what do? Now that's when the rest of the group gets involved. All right, we're going to come down. Oh, also Ephraim's going to get involved too. And so they're just picking these guys off as they're fleeing. And then they end up capturing 2 of the Midianite leaders, and their heads are presented to Gideon, sitting by the Jordan, assumingly calm, and collected. All it took was that, like I said, all it took was that dream interpretation. And dude, he is one cool cucumber now. He's ready to go. He is thankful. All jokes aside, he is very thankful, and he's giving credit where it's due. He's giving it to God. T-Rex, oh my Lord, I thought Nernath said prestidigitation like magic. No. He'll suffer the witch to live. We're still in the OT, T-Rex. We don't like magic at all. Get your Harry Potter crap out of here. Zeba and Zalmunna. Now the Ephraimites asked Gideon, "Why have you treated us like this? Why didn't you call us when you went to fight Midian?" And they challenged him vigorously. So Ephraim all of a sudden is upset that they didn't get asked to join the posse. Maybe you should have volunteered. Why did you ignore us? Why didn't you ask? You think you didn't? I'm mustering 30,000 men and you don't know about it? Baloney. We weren't invited. Could have just said, "Hey, we're here to join you. You're all supposed to be brothers and sisters under the Lord. Just show up." You would have been turned away unless you lapped like a dog. But he answered him, "What have I accomplished compared to you? Art the gleanings of Ephraim's grapes better than the full grape harvest of Abiezer? God gave Oreb and Zeb, the Midianite leaders, into your hands. What was I able to do compared to you?" At this, their resentment against him subsided. Ooh, some diplomacy. Look at Otto von Gideon over here. He's like, oh, I mean, like they come to him angry because they weren't included in his little party. And he said, look what you did. You know, all I did was scare him out. I flushed the game out. You're the ones who got the 2 leaders, and you brought me. Here you are bringing any of their heads. All I did was sound the horn, smash a empty jar, and wave a torch around, and that cooled their heads. Gideon and his 300 men, exhausted yet keeping up the pursuit, came to the Jordan and crossed it. He said to the man of Succoth, "Give my troops some bread. They are worn out, and I am still pursuing Zeba and Zalmunna, the kings of Midian." But the officials of Succoth said, "Do you already have the hands of Zeba and Zalmunna in your possession? Why should we give bread to your troops? Then Gideon replied, Just for that, when the Lord has given Zebah and Zalmunna into my hand, I will tear your flesh with desert thorns and briars. Oh, snap. Come on, don't be hypocritical, Gideon. But this isn't to the people who want to say that Sodom and Gomorrah were only torched because and leveled because the born hospitable. The officials are not being very hospitable. Why should we give bread to your troops? Why not just give it to them because they asked, right? Nernath, I'll let you respond to Nico as well. What about Lord of the Ring magic like Gandalf's also evil or just Christian parents' hypocrisy? Saw it in a meme recently. All right. So Lord of the Rings was written by a Christian man, J.R.R. Tolkien. He is inspired by many things, but one of the arcs throughout there are Christian themes, good over evil, but he uses a fantasy setting. In a fantasy setting, in that fantasy setting, it's not Middle Earth isn't part of Earth. Middle Earth is part of Arda. It's just a continent, very similar to Europe, right? And to the west, you have Valinor, where the Valar live, which are kind of think of them like um, angels or demigods. And to the east, you have the Easterlings. Oh, it's an actual thing. I thought we were just putting that all together as it sounded like. I'll get to that in a second, T-Rex. So no, we're talking about when you start to talk about people who claim to practice magic, like your essential oils pellet people, and I'm the daughter of the witches, granddaughter of the witches you didn't burn. Um, when you look at the people who practice in magics, it's voodoo, it's blood sacrifices, stuff like that goes on. It's not good. Divination, you're dealing with dark arts. If we want to, it's dark magic. The stuff that exists in reality, which I've talked to people who are convinced themselves that they both had dabbled in it in the past, seen things that they didn't want to see, and that scared them straight, or I've seen it other people do the same thing, and have seen things, but seen bad things. No, J.K. Rowling is just a tryhard, okay, and Harry Potter is weak sauce. And this is my biggest, and J.K. Rowling is she's a virtue signaler up to a point because she's a turf. Um, she's a virtue signaler. She used the convenience of after she had made her millions and after she had made a successful uh book series um on the pretense that it is wholesome and good. Then she goes back and says then she comes back and says oh, that the main one of the main characters that everybody looks up to is actually gay. She said it after all the book sales that come in after her series had been concluded. After it was much easier to come out and say it. I don't know. Find that questionable, very questionable behavior. So Lord of the Ring magic is more like abracadabra, and I am magic being with magic. I am a magic being with magic abilities. More the magic being with magic abilities. You know, you're talking about like elemental summoning and stuff like that. You're not. you're talking about wielding the forces of nature and everything, stuff like that. It's not more of what magic people is in real life is. Like I said, who's the best example of it? And talk to somebody who has been on a mission trip, Haiti, and hear some of the things that they say. It is it is a wild ride because voodoo is still the main religion down there, if I remember correctly, and it is a big reason why Haiti does have some Christian foothold, but it has been the main block behind Christianity taking over that island. So, but yeah. But wait, Haiti's on the other side of Cuba, right? Wait, or Dominican? Crap! Now I got to look at a damn map, geographical map before I hear somebody do something. Or OK Predator shows up on my feed. Oh, Haiti's on the other side of Dominican Republic, the DR. Yeah, that's all right. So, but it's just east of Cuba. That's what was throwing me off. So, yeah, it's a gnarly thing. But that's where. So, like I said, the Lord of the Rings, it's fantasy. It's fantasy. You can do more. What makes Lord of the Rings wholesome is the overarching themes of everything, right? It's different from the Chronicles of Narnia, which is allegory which is meant to give very very overt Christian themes and, like I said, allegory to young people in a way that is fanciful. And I think and look, I'm a big fan of C.S. Lewis, and his whole story and testimony is great. I still need to read the Screw Tape letters. Maybe I'll do C.S. Lewis next after I'm done. Allegory. Allegory. Oh no. Allegory. I say allegory. Look, do you give whatever whatever Nunath? I say allegory. Allegory. I've heard it both ways. Stop. But yeah, that's the difference. That's the difference. It's not really a point of hypocrisy. It's not trying to say, "Ooh, you're really a muggle," but there's also a fanciful land on Earth where people practice magic with and wizards are really good people. No. T-Rex prestidigitation refers to street magic like sleight of hand, not really any type of devilish magic stuff. Yeah, I thought you were just doing some. I thought you were just making fun of the things that the wizards in Harry Potter say. I'm gonna start, Nernath. This is what Nernath had said. Generally, less blood magic and sex rituals. Yes, less focus on self-aggrandizement and making a pact with demons. And oh wait, hold on. Less focus on self-aggrandizement, whatever that is, and making a pact with demons and dark spirits. Lord of the Rings magic. Blah, 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 blah. J.K. also held on to the secret that wizards magic the doo-doo. Scandalous. Yeah, she's a hot mess, and apparently she's incredibly vindictive. But whatever. Do you say Arkansas? I will from now on. T-Rex, how do you say this word? Niche. Niche. How do you say salmon? How do you say Arkansas? Do you say it Arkansas or Arkansas? Look, I went to Topsail Island for uh for my vacation. They call it Topsail. SAIL is pronounced SUL. Topsail. Tomato. Potatoes. The L is silent. Funny story. Funny story. Um, my dad for the longest time said salmon, like until I was in high school, and eventually I said, and it came up kind of regularly because he um he likes the salmon flavored cream cheese, which I think is disgusting, but I'm not a fish person. He really likes it, and so I think we were talking about that, and he said salmon. And I go, and so it's me, my dad, my brother, and my mom, and we're all sitting in the kitchen. And and so I asked, why do you say it that way? I was trying not to say it in a sarcastic because I had I was trying to show proper respect, but I was kind of curious. So why do you say it with the L? It's salmon. And he goes, no, it's pronounced salmon. And I'm like, are you sure about this? And he's like, yeah. And he was being a little condescending to me about it. So I got up, went downstairs, got the dictionary out, pulled it up, and him and my mom got in an argument about it. And then he was kind of like, well, why would they put silent L in there? And look, I don't know why they put a silent L in there, but it is. Oregano? Dude, save this discussion for people from Philadelphia. In Pennsylvania, they say things weird all the time. And we don't want people from Boston talking because they have the worst accents on the planet. I'm just a simple man. Here's one. Your mom's sister. What is she called? How's that pronounced? Your mother or your father's sister. How do you pronounce it? I'll wait. No, no, Nico. It's aunt. 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 We step on ants. Round here. We step on ants round here. Anyway. So all right. So the, the their Nath got that right. Water. Not woulda. It's a roof. That's like I said, you're going up. You need to if you're looking for the funny pronunciations of those, you need to go north. How about this? If you want to hear people say things funny and wrong, listen to Nick's stream. Nick cannot pronounce words. He is my favorite one is yeoman, and he was yeoman. He was calling it for the longest time, and I'm screaming at him in I'm screaming at him at home. I'm sitting there sending him messages. I'm like, it's yeoman, like yo man, like yeoman, not yeoman. What is going on in this thing? Ah, it's the worst. No, T-Rex, you're wrong. It's not. We're not doxing Nernath. We're not doxing Nernath. He's just incorrect about allegory having two different pronunciations. Pronunciations. All right, um, so the officials of Succoth, so they're in there saying, um, he gets through there. He's like, "Look, my men are hungry. Can you give us some food?" And he said, Gideon's like, "Dude, can you just give us some food?" And men of Succoth said, "Why should we give bread to you? You probably already have these guys. You're just hungry." Gideon, you know, I love that. I love that response. Just for that, just for that, when the Lord has given Zeba and Zebedee, when I win, when I get what I want, I'm going to tear your flesh with desert thorns and briars. From there, he went up to Peniel and made the same request of them. But they answered as the men of Succoth had. So he said to the men of Peniel, "When I return in triumph, I will tear down this tower." Gideon's getting full of himself. Look, this man has gone from down here, self-conscious, worried he's doing the wrong thing, questioning God about if it's really him, to I'm at the pray. He goes, yell my name when you're charging. I'm gonna tear down these. When I get done with this, I'm gonna wreck y'all's day. Now Zeba and Zalmunna were in Karkor with a force of about 15,000 men. Well, I've got 300. That's not true. He's got a lot more now. And all that were left, because look, all those men who left because they were afraid, they're not afraid anymore. Once they find out that God gave the Midianites into 300. So he had a force of about 15,000 men. All that were left of the armies of the eastern peoples, 120,000 swordsmen had fallen. 120. He brought 32,000 men against 122,000 men. And God said, let's even the odds a little bit. Gideon went up by the route of the nomads east of Nobah and Jogbega and attacked the unsuspecting army. Zeba and Zalmunna, the two kings of Midian, fled, but he pursued them and captured them, routing their entire army. Gideon, son of Joash, then returned from the battle by the pass of Heres. He caught a young man of Succoth and questioned him, and the young man wrote down for him the names of the 77 officials of Succoth, the elders of the town. Impressive, because ask me what the names of 77 elected officials in Congress are, and I probably can't, and I could probably name half. And I pay attention to politics. So this guy's pretty, of course, again, know your men, know your elders. He does. Then Gideon came and said to the men of Succoth, "Here are Zeba and Zalmunna, about whom you taunted me by saying, do you already have the hand?" Oh, so they were mocking him. God doesn't like mocking his people. "Here are the men are Zeba and Zalmunna, who you taunted me by saying, do you already have the hands of Zeba and Zalmunna in your possession? Why should we give you bread to your exhausted men?" He took the elders of the town and taught the men of Succoth a lesson by punishing them with desert thorns and briars. He also pulled down the tower of Peniel and killed the men of the town. Whoa. All right. Number one, came in true to his word. My men are hungry. Can we have food? Ha! No. Haven't you already won? Nobody cares. Guess what? I'm going to beat you with desert thorns and briars. I'm going to literally tie you up and spank you with thorns and briars. Oh, and I'm going over to Peniel. I'm taking their tower down and killing all the men. Gideon is on a whole nother level now. Remember Gideon from when we were talking about him last night? The least, I'm from the smallest clan of Manasseh. I'm the least of family. What can I do? God, can you send me a sign? Can you prove it to you before I do all these things you want me to do? Before I do the things that you're promised you're going to have my back on? Can you do all this stuff? Look, God, I'm still kind of scared. Let me go down and see. All it took, the last straw, the straw that broke Gideon's problems was hearing a Midianite talk about his dream and hearing the interpretation of the dream. He bows down, worships God, lets go, gets out there, gets at it, and now he's beating people with desert thorns and briars and pulling down towers, killing the men of the town. And before all that, he beat an army of 120,000 men with 300 and then an auxiliary of, 30,000 plus, assuming. So then he asked Zeba and Zalmunna, "What kind of men did you kill at Tabor?" "Men like you," they answered, "each one with the bearing of a prince." Okay. Zeba and Zalmunna, kings, ballsy. I guess today that Hebrews, Israelites, you troublesome people. Gideon replied, "Those were my brothers, the sons of my own mother. Surely as the Lord lives, if you had spared their lives, I would not kill you." Turning to Jether, his oldest son, he said, "Kill them." But Jether, let's call him Jether, did not draw his sword because he was only a boy and was afraid. Zeba and Zalmunna said, "Come, do it yourself. As is the man, so is his strength." So Gideon stepped forward and killed them and took the ornaments off their camels' necks. Damn it, man. Why don't you come do it yourself? Why are you going to get your little kid to do it? Because that's probably more insulting. But since he's scared and he's only a boy, he's my son, I'm assuming Gideon loves him. He goes, "I'll do it." Gideon's ephod. The Israelites said to Ephod, the Israelites said to Gideon, "Rule over us, you, your son, and your grandson, because you have saved us from the hand of Midian." We're getting close to one of my favorite politically charged Bible verses. When I get to that part, it's going to be a show. It's going to be a show similar to Moses coming down from Mount Sinai. So, Israelites say to Gideon, "Rule over us." So Gideon's a man now. I'm a full grown man. I am here. And this is what I've done. He gets back. Israel side, "Rule over us. You, your family, all your progeny. You have served. You saved us. Blah blah blah." Gideon told them, "I will not rule over you, nor will my son rule over you." Look at that man. He couldn't even kill those two kings when we had them captured. "I will not rule." This is Gideon's best response. Best response. One of the best lines in the Bible here too. Gideon told them, "I will not rule over you, nor will my son rule over you. The Lord will rule over you." Gideon, my man. Everything from yesterday we talked about, everything from chapter 6. Oh man, Gideon, you're a whole different spectacle now. As he said, "I do have one request, that each of you give me an earring from your share of the plunder." It was the custom of the Ishmaelites to wear gold earrings. Oh, that's where the Easterlings are coming from, the Ishmaelites. Let me tell you, because a lot of y'all weren't here when we went through Genesis. And by a lot of you, I mean probably none of you. Fig was the only one there at the time, I think, in this stream. Maybe not even him at that point. I think he was there, though. Fig was there. When Ishmael leaves Abraham, no, wait. Yeah, when Ishmael leaves Abraham, he tells him. He tells him, You two are not going to, the descendants of you two, not going to get along. When Joseph's brothers sold him, they sold him to Ishmaelites. They sold him into slavery, and they were like, hey, cousin, what's up? Give us our shekels. I will not rule over you, nor will my son rule over you. The Lord will rule over you. Near Gideon was, hold on. Let's go all the way back up. Where's Nunath from? Originally growing up, I'm technically Asian. Technically makes me think that you're from the western side of Asia. So Russia, Middle East area, maybe Turkey. That's what it just makes me think. Please be Mongolian. That would be cool. Anyway, Caucasus are in Asia. They are the Caucasus Mountains. It's much funnier when you meet me. Maybe one day. Nico saying Gideon's starting to sound like an insecure man who never got over his issues, regardless of his victories. That's a different way of looking at it. I'm not going to say you're wrong. Well, I take that back. I'm not going to say you're wrong because you can easily read this as him overcompensating. But when he gets to that point, people with generally in the Bible and generally in life, people with those kind of issues, when the Israelites say to Gideon, rule over us, you and your sons, if he's overcompensating, then he's going to overcompensate there. And he's going to say, yep, I'm going to be a ruler. But he doesn't. And God oftentimes, when it's involved in something like this and chooses a person to deliver the Israelites or to establish a covenant with, they normally are very flawed at the beginning, and they still have flaws, but he brings out the best in them. He brought out the best in Abraham. He brought out the best in Moses. He brought out the best in Gideon here. That's my read on it. That's my take. So but like that said, I think that you've got a really good point all the way up until until verse 23. So, yeah. All right. So he asked them for give me an earring from the share to plunder. Apparently there was 120,000 dead Ishmaelites and Midianites. They answered, we'll be glad to give them. So they spread out a garment, and each of them threw a ring from his plunder into it. The weight of the gold rings he asked for came to 1,700 shekels, not counting the ornaments, the pendants, and the purple garments worn by the kings of Midian, or the chains that were on their camels' necks. Gideon made the gold into an ephod, which he placed in Ophrah, his town. All Israel prostituted themselves by worshiping it there, and it became a snare to Gideon and his family. And so this is what we say. Gideon made the gold into an ephod, which is pretty based, right? But he puts it in it. He lets it become, and maybe he doesn't let it become. Let's read about Gideon's death, because I think chapter 20 or verse 27 is talking about after Gideon. So let's read the rest of it, and we can go back into there. Gideon's death. Thus Midian was subdued before the Israelites and did not raise its head again. During Gideon's lifetime, the land had peace for 40 years. Not bad, Gideon. Jerubbaal, son of Joash, went back home to live. He had 70 sons of his own, for he had many wives. Dude's getting busy. His concubine, I have a bunch of wives. I also got this concubine. She must not be Israel, is an Israelite. Oh, snap. His concubine, who lived in Shechem, also bore him a son, whom he named Abimelech. Gideon, son of Joash, died at a good old age and was buried in the tomb of his father Joash in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. No sooner had Gideon died than the Israelites again prostituted themselves to the Baals. They set up Baal-berith as their god and did not remember the Lord their God, who had rescued them from the hands of all their enemies on every side. They also failed to show any loyalty to this family of Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, in spite of all the good things he had done for them. All right. Ends on a very good note for Gideon. He had a lot of kids. 70 sons. 70 sons. Not talking about just the sons. He had many wives. How many wives do you have? Dag. Woo! Woo! Gotta give him the Ric Flair right there. Woo! 70 sons. And also another son from a concubine that he named Abimelech. Interesting name. I'm trying to remember my timeline here. That might be a very interesting, that might be a very consequential moment right there. But here's the thing. He dies, and immediately Israel falls into prostitution, basically selling themselves to the devil and other false gods, demons, and stuff like that. The Baals, right? I want to see where we go by. All of Israel prostituted. So it sounds like, and this is what it sounds like. Became a snare to Gideon and his family. He tried to do something good, and it ends up becoming something bad. Because that's what the Israelites do, right? It's kind of like, since we were talking about Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings, what does Tolkien say? Evil does not create; it just corrupts what is good. That's what they do in this case. Something good, he makes the gold into an ephod, puts it in the town. Israel decides they're going to do weird stuff with it. So, and there we go. Nico, so was Gideon's retribution for not providing justified? Well, let's put it into perspective. You have got people of Israel not being sorry. Let's start with this. You have a man put up by God, selected by God to do a great thing. He is leading an army, tasked with doing something God tasked them to do. They are chasing an enemy that God has selected for elimination. An enemy that has been giving Israel problems because of Israel's lack of faith to God. So as this army and this man are moving through the land, the man comes up to people who are of his own culture, of his own people, and says, "We need bread." And what did they do? They made fun of him, and they didn't give him any. And he told them, "I'm coming back, and when I come back, it's not going to be good." They left the men fighting for God, doing what God told them, and would not provide for them. some of their own people, and they mocked. And what does Nerneus said? It's not, this isn't scripture, but evil cannot create, only mock. That's not what you do. Let's put that into perspective from let's take almost from a secular viewpoint. All right. US is under attack. We can't say Canadians because because nobody would believe that. That's too unbelievable. That's too fantasy land. Let's say that the US has been getting attacked by Central and South American nations, right? They're coming through and attacking us, and they're looting, and they're doing all sorts of other stuff. And we have the army come through, right? And the army comes through one of the towns, and they need shelter, they need food, they need something. They need something, and you have it. But you deny it to them. The S in SF stands for sorry force, because that's what they say after kill people. Sorry. That's another one. How do you pronounce sorry? Sorry. Canadians got some Canadians, look, when you get to the point where, like, Canadians, there are a lot of good Canadians out there. There are a lot of good Canadians out there. But they're easy to make fun of because their culture and their nation is one that is just, they're very laid back, and presently they're a problem, kind of a problem. So, but I mean, that's where you, from a political standpoint, like if you were looking at this from a citizenry standpoint, if you knew that there was a town that wasn't supporting the troops, not just not supporting them because they couldn't, had the capacity to, but as they're moving through, they just made fun of them, threw rocks at them, yelled at them, called them names, and didn't support them on a moral level. On a biblical level, you do that, God's going to make an example of you. And he's going to use one of his examples to make an example of you. Gideon's his example. So I think that, in my opinion, Count Dankula speaks the best English, though I can't understand a word. Don't listen to Limes. Don't listen to Limes. America, the South in America, took English, which is meh, and made it America. Made it American. We speak American here. So, but that's what we have. So we'll get into more of this, because guess what? Already know chapter 9 is going to start now. The Israelites are all, as soon as, look, we don't even get out of Gideon's chapter after he saves them, right? Or after the Lord saves them, but uses Gideon to save them. No sooner had Gideon died than the Israelites again prostituted themselves to the Baals. They set up Baals as a god. They didn't remember their Lord, their God. They can't wait to screw up. Whatever. Israel, you piss me off. So that's our reading for tonight. Quick update, though. And I wish Blaine was here for this, and maybe I'll repeat it when Blaine gets back in. So I've been reading. I'm maybe an eighth of a way through Musashi. No. Dude, that book reads like anime. Now, I'm reading through the translation. It reads, I mean, it reads like anime dialogue. So, I'm right at home listening to it. They do some Zen Buddhism stuff and whatever the other Buddhism stuff. There's a lot of Buddha right now, which I don't go for, but I mean, what can I do? What can you say? What can I say? Japan would be a great Christian nation, a great Christian culture if they could just accept it. I think that would be cool. I think it would be cool. It'd be amazing for somebody to really some godly figure who has the wit and the charisma and just the ability to make Christianity make sense for Japanese culture and some of the other Asian cultures. That would be awesome. All right. With that said, we're going to leave for the night. An hour and 10 minutes. I thought this was going to be a quick stream. But we were talking about how everybody says stuff. All right. Before we leave, how do you pronounce .gif? How do you pronounce .gif? Specifically you, Nernath. And I knew you were there the whole time, Dresden. While we're waiting for you guys to respond, everybody, I hope you have a great night. We're going to be here tomorrow. Nico, Dresden, Nernath, T-Rex, and I think that's the group tonight for the most part in the chat. Hope you all have a great night. How do you pronounce .gif? And Nernath said that if Japanese would have the power of God and anime. Do you know how awesome that would be? I mean, like, you go on Twitter and you can find, especially in the Orthodox crowd, and one of the people, one of the people I follow who I think is awesome is King of Salt. His tag is Martin Awuther, and it is is hilarious. It's hilarious. He's got a lot of good stuff, but you see a lot of anime pics on Christian Twitter. Todd Fig, backwards. GIF. It is like GIF. The hard G. It's a hard F. GIF. You got to say it with the hard F. Anyway. All right, guys. You guys have a good evening. No, Japan is great because of their degeneracy. Nothing good about Puritan Japan. Please. Please. They're going to take your tentacle porn away. That's what is that what you're worried about? We need to get rid of that stuff. Are you kidding me? They're not great because of tentacle porn. They're not. Oh, it's awful. All right, guys. All right, guys. Y'all have a good evening. Nico, I'll see you tomorrow along with the rest of you folks. And we can talk more about anime or whatever. But what we're definitely going to be talking about is God. God. Ain't no hard F. It's a labiodental aspirate. Tell me what it is. I don't like these words that you're using, your Nath. Near Nath. Anyway, start calling you Nathan. Anyway, all right. Let me end this show. Let me end this show. Thanks for all your viewership, guys. Love it, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good night, and God bless you.